Well, today is Halloween after all, and I don't usually invite scary guests on my program on Halloween, but actually this show has only been going for one previous Halloween. I don't remember what I did last year. I'm not sure. I have no idea what you're doing over there, but anyway, all right. So Bradford Ferguson, on Halloween, we had a very nice Halloween candy box handed out from the AI department at Tesla today. And in that box of chocolates, they provided us yet another look into the future in terms of what's coming with FSD. I love this transparency. I hope this is I hope this is indicative of the future of Tesla, providing us with this kind of transparency. It's amazing.
Yeah, so let's dive right into it. I'm going
Okay,
to share my screen, and I'm just going to clarify a few points. It's pretty long. It's a ton of text.
right.
Basically, they say the hardware 4, AI 4 users are going to get end-to-end highway early next week. So that's at the top. So stop smoothness, some other things. And then actually Smart Summon released to Europe and China. Then they talk about version 13 going out, and they said that they hope to get it out by Thanksgiving.
Right.
Um,
Only for AI4 though.
yeah. So what they're saying is that they're going to give full resolution AI video inputs to the model. So instead of the data set they had before, where they might have been um, tricking AI4 into working with the lower resolution videos or upscaled videos, they're going to give it real video inputs um, in its native resolution. So
Wow.
that should be big. It's a bigger model and it's a longer context length. So longer context length would mean, like, instead of feeding it the last 5 seconds of video, it may feed it the last 15 seconds of video,
I see.
um, which would definitely help it understand the situations more. It might even naturally get better at sign reading if it has longer context. So we see signs more as we pull into intersections. You get those cheater signs that tell you, okay, here's what the lanes are. If you can't read it
Sure.
on the paint on the road, it
Yeah.
has the sign. So maybe you get a little more of that. They talk about the compute scaling they're getting from Cortex. We already kind of knew that, but they're able to put it to work right away.
Hmm.
So just like I said, like every time Tesla gets more training compute, they're delivering with enhancements. Um, one thing that got me really excited is they talk about reward predictions for collision avoidance following traffic controls navigation. So the big thing I see is disengagements where I'm preventing an accident from happening, where it's pulling out at the perfectly wrong time.
Hmm.
So essentially, they're gonna reward the model a higher amount to avoid collisions.
I see.
So,
Okay.
so it's not gonna. I think it's gonna make many fewer mistakes.
So the system will get two smiley faces on the refrigerator. Is that?
Yeah, that's right. Um, it also sounds like it may they may be rewarding it more for being in the best lane,
Hmm.
and maybe getting better about dealing with some things around navigation where um, it's not making as many map mistakes. So we'll see. Um, and and we may, I don't know when this is happening, if this is going to happen by Thanksgiving, but where it'll park itself, whether in a driveway, a garage, or on the street. So we may get that again.
That would be nice.
Yeah. They're seeing a 4x increase compared to 12.5.4.
Okay.
So they're wanting to get it out to employees by the end of next week. So after the election, and then wanting to get it wide release by Thanksgiving to
Right.
the hardware 4 vehicles. So unfortunately, hardware 3 people might be waiting for a while. That's a tough situation for Tesla. If they're constantly having to rerun the training and validation and stuff for hardware 3, that may slow them down. So what we might see is a slower pace of updates for hardware 3, but I don't think they'll totally abandon it. I think they're going to just update it less often, and just do it after they've done significant work. So, hopefully after they iron out any bugs with version 13, that they then take some time to run it for hardware 3.
Right, right, right. And that didn't mention Cybertruck at all. I don't know whether that will
Yeah.
start. I don't know if that's going to start becoming an automatic at the same time, or whether that's still going to be something that comes out a week later. Or
And that was kind of funny because Cybertruck responded to them and said, "It appears you've forgotten something." What about actually smart summon for Cybertruck?
Yeah, how about that? Yeah, exactly.
Actually, smart summon's going to go to Europe and China, but not for Cybertruck. So that was the Tesla's own Cybertruck account that was
I
trolling
see.
them a
It was
bit.
making the, I see. Oh, that's pretty good. That's pretty funny. Yeah, love this transparency. Okay, so I think that's all good and moving in the right direction for what I think everybody now will be. Now we've got our expectations. I think pretty much everybody's got their expectations around June, July, in terms of maybe the rollout of Robotaxi. So there could be a big letdown. There could be a big, oh no, it didn't come out in time. So or maybe it's early. That would be exciting. But I think it's pretty clear that everybody's zeroing in pretty much on that mid-year point.
And I was one of the first to say this, potentially summer of next year.
Okay, there you go. You were far behind. You were far behind, though, Stephen Mark Ryan, who 5 years ago predicted it would be 2025.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Wow.
he's been predicting 2025 all along.
I give him props.
I really like Stephen Mark Ryan. I don't want him to be right because that's just wrong for him to be that right. Anyway, let's see. AJ is showing 95 cents for quarter four. And you say?
Well, the CFO warned on the last call
Yeah.
that next quarter will be tough. I don't know if it's gross profit he was talking about or overall
He's talking about
profits.
automotive profit. That's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd have to look at all of AJ's math. So
Okay.
I haven't. So I'd be open to him being right.
There you go. All right, that's a good one. All right, then I've come up with $4.15 without Cybertruck for all of next year. And of course, if we have a 95-cent fourth quarter, $4 and some change would seem to be pretty obvious or pretty
Yeah.
easy even. So have you guys started to run any of those numbers like for 2025 yet?
I didn't talk about it with Matt today. He was pretty busy with updating his Lemonade research. They just had their earnings, and I think Matt was on the call, so he was doing that. And we
Okay.
can talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
But
So
I see $4. It seems a little optimistic. I know you err on the side of optimism, but
what?
it seems reasonable. Like if they could exit the fourth quarter like that, that may be attainable, especially if they do get that increase in production and sales next year.
Yeah, well, I based it on 25%. So I split the difference between 20 and 30. I based it on roughly same margins year, actually same price per same dollars profit per vehicle, not margins, but dollar profit average per vehicle as third quarter. And I used energy at the same rough profit levels as well, with a expectation, I think, of 80 megabytes for the, no, 60 gigabyte hours, 60 big, I think I used 60.
60 gigawatt hours. Okay.
Roughly doubling this year's,
Mhm.
roughly doubling this year's. And so, with just those two as expectations, it came out to over $4. So we'll see, but I maybe next Thursday you can let me know if there's any much more detailed analyses that are being done at Rebellion Air.
Well, I think that'd be a reasonable assumption for Tesla Energy. It looks like Lathrop isn't going to be able to sustain 40 gigawatt hours annually, at least right now. So there'll be a shade under that.
Of
Um,
production?
yeah, and Tesla did guide to doing 9 gigawatt hours this coming quarter.
Hmm,
They did have a really strong week to end this past quarter, but they only did it for a week.
I see.
And I think sometimes those surge numbers that they give out, we attain this in a week. It can involve like overtime and just like really stacking the deck in your favor to get those numbers. But I I think Tesla said that they would be exiting the first quarter at a 20 gigawatt hour run rate in Shanghai. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, they'll have under that rate, so they'd have less than 5 in the first quarter.
Right.
It it seems reasonable to expect they do at least 5 in the second quarter
Right.
in Shanghai,
And then,
and then hopefully make up for a slow first quarter and the third and fourth quarters. And yeah, hopefully ending up with a number that's a little above 20,
yeah.
because then you get to your 60 that you're talking about.
Yeah.
when
And
you
that, and
combine
remember,
everything.
don't remember 60 includes power walls too.
Mhm.
So, so why are you hearing that Lathrop cannot maintain 40?
They said they achieved it in a week, so
So you're just not sure
it generally when that's happened in Tesla's history, it's been a surge number.
okay. So it might be that they could do it in the second quarter or third, or they might even go, as you said before, maybe they could even do more. If as they get better and better, more efficient, they might be able to hit even bigger numbers, don't you think?
From Lathrop, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. All right. Okay.
But I'm wait and see.
Right. Okay. So Waymo came out, made some statements today about I'm sorry, it wasn't Waymo, it was the new guy. They're not new.
Dukes.
Yeah, yeah. So they came out, made some negative comments, and Elon responded to them about Robotaxi. I was thinking
I
to
didn't
my
hear Elon's response. So the Zooks guy said that Tesla won't be able to solve autonomy with
right.
their current approach. So what did Elon say?
He only said if it wasn't for Amazon, was it for I forget which one of the big guys it was. One of the big guys saved their bacon by investing in them. Was it Amazon?
Oh, Zooks, probably Amazon. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So he said if it wasn't, so he didn't really make a responsive response. It was kind of just a jab.
you're lucky to be around, kid. Basically,
Right. So I started thinking about, well, okay, what are the advantages that Tesla has, compared to Waymo and others? And Winton Ark said, and you might have posted this, Two major competitive leverage points to Robotaxi: the cost per mile, which nobody's going to be able to touch them cost per mile, especially on their own fleet, because they're going to be able to make a Robotaxi cheaper than anybody, the actual vehicle cheaper than
Right.
anybody. Then if you add on any kind of these other kinds of systems, LiDAR, radar, et cetera, you're going to even make it more per unit in terms of the car. So the depreciation aspect will already add to the cost. And then Tesla is their own battery manufacturer and will probably always have a lead in terms of the battery cost per mile, the energy cost per mile. So that was one of the things he mentioned. And then he said the number of units that can be put out into the system is like no comparison.
Right.
Not only the ability to get you and me to put ours out there, but Tesla's already got the capacity tomorrow, if they wanted to start putting out hundreds of thousands into their own fleet. So, did you have other things that you thought, or first of all, you might address those two, but are there other things that you think would be major benefits for Tesla compared to any of these other competitors?
You're leading the witness, and that's okay. But so Zoox, they may have a Robovan competitor where they have this big thing where I think the seats face each other, and there's no steering wheel, and it's in cities, so it's like a airport shuttle type deal. It's a go on certain routes type of competitor, so like a city bus type deal. Um, so they don't have the fleet size Tesla has. They don't have the manufacturing ability. Tesla can they could serve everybody in a 3 and Y that you and I own before they need to make a bunch of robotaxis. So essentially they have up to 2 million cars in the US that, once they figure it out, that they could put online immediately. So they have that built-in fleet that's actually doing the work, but they also have 2 million cars on the road collecting data, which Zoox does not have. Tesla has compute that they own. So, maybe Zoox is owned by Amazon now. I don't know, but Amazon has their compute. But I'm guessing they're not going about the problem the same way Tesla is. So I don't think they have the same software chops as Tesla, or like the same small teams where you're just doing a much smaller team and moving a lot faster. And you talked about the low equipment costs per vehicle. So I think Tesla's just gonna be able to get there faster in a bigger way once they do enter the autonomous race.
Yeah, and you hit almost all my numbers, almost everything I had on my list here, except for brand. So even though Waymo, has been out there for a while, my guess is that probably the brand identification. This is a completely pull it out of the air number, but I'm guessing that maybe 20-25% of the population would know what a Waymo is or has ever heard of a Waymo, as opposed to probably 90% of the population knows what a Tesla is and even knows this Tesla brand T, would recognize it immediately, just like they would Apple or McDonald's or whatever. So
Yeah. I would almost think Zoox would have to run their app through Uber or Amazon. And so you have another cost thing going on there where you're having to share with them the economics. Yeah.
Yeah, so it seems like they're a long way away from being able to really compete. Once now, his point was Tesla doesn't have a product they can put on the road today. By the way,
Mhm.
in that you might have noticed he stated they're 100x away from being as good as a human. And I thought to myself, well, I think that takes about 3/4 to solve that 100x, because they're doing 1,000x in a year.
Mhm.
So something between 2 and 3/4, they should be 100x better.
Yeah, potentially it could happen that quickly, but They were probably working on version 12 for a while before January. So, maybe it's 4 or 5 quarters, but still.
Yeah, all right. Okay, listen, I want to switch to pickup trucks. Ford Lightning has announced today that they are going to go into hibernation. They're not going to make any more until next year. Um, Whereas Cybertruck is got about probably going to be somewhere between 50 and 75,000 units sold in its very first year of business. Probably 200,000 next year. What are you hearing about Cybertruck out there that I may or may not be hearing in terms of, I mean, everything I've heard is amazing in terms of use cases, in terms of people loving their Cybertrucks, et cetera. Oh, you've got some help for me here. Okay,
So
go
I'm
ahead.
going to show you.
All right.
So this shows a VIN number of 48,000
Ah,
by October 28th. This is in Houston. So likely they've made at least 45,000 through October 28th.
okay.
So like Tesla is in a position where they are continuing to ramp production of the Cybertruck, and Ford is seeing such a lack of demand and probably losses that they're pausing production on their F-150 Lightning for at least 7 weeks.
Right.
So that's not good for Ford. Um, and yeah, I'm hearing anecdotally there's a lot more people taking up Tesla on their um, for their Cybertrucks at 80,000 versus 100,000, as you would expect.
Right. Right.
Granted, there are going to be some people that wait longer to get their Cybertrucks, hoping it, maybe the price goes further lower in a year or two from now, but they're going to have to wait in line. They're going to have to wait a while for that. Um, so yeah, I think it's good, and Cybertruck already passed the point of being profitable for Tesla. That was at mostly the higher price
Yeah.
point, but with scale and learnings um, and having the equipment fully in, I think there was a key piece of equipment they got in April or May. Just having all that stuff run smoothly, I think is going to make a difference. And they're almost done with the Cybertruck escape tunnel.
Oh, yes. Is that what that is? Is the cyberscape? What are they gonna guess? Call it cyberscape? What's
So there's a tunnel that Tesla dug under the highway to get their cars out a little more faster, more efficiently. And the boring company is completing, putting the road panels in that tunnel. And I think Cybertruck bare minimum is going to be coming out of that, but maybe also the Model Y. There's a lot of congestion around
I see.
Giga, Texas.
I see.
Allegedly, there's over 22,000 people that work there. So this helps them out with a logistical issue. I don't know if it's actually slows production,
Right.
but this tunnel will help them out.
Okay. I had not heard yet that was what the tunnel was for. Okay. So we'll
The
see.
escape hatch.
That'll be fun to watch them pulling these trucks out, or the trucks pulling themselves out, I suppose, and go park themselves as well. That is certainly something we all want to see. It will make for some good videos. So do you think we'll ever see anything under 60,000 on Cybertruck? Originally, they said there'd be a $40,000 vehicle. We've had 40% inflation since then, so that would make about a 56,000. Do you think do you think it'll be 50? Do you think it'll ever be 56 or 50? How low do you think we'll get?
I think you could see a single motor in the mid 50s. It's my opinion, like the double motor would kind of bottom out around 62,000.
Oh, okay. All right.
Um, I think that was based off of where the Model Y was at the time that I did that. I don't think the Model Y has changed a ton in price since I did a little bit of that napkin math.
Right.
So, um, Yeah, I would say, possibly mid 50s on a single motor that's, you know, very slow in comparison to the double motor and might have lower range.
Mhm,
Um,
mhm.
but would make a fantastic in-city work truck.
Yeah.
There's someone who um, they got their Cybertruck for work and they're using it to tow locally, so they have stuff they tow around for their business.
Mhm.
So it's stuff they need to do like real world work. And he said that he saves $65 per workday on fuel alone.
Right.
So
Right.
I think potentially it could be a big hit, even the single motor version of it.
Yeah, and I was thinking about him. When I read that post, it would seem like, you could carry your charger with you. And if you're working at a business or you're working at someone's home, you could always plug in there. So
Mm.
while you're working, you could be charging if there was any issue with not having enough charge for your day. Um,
Well, if you're working locally, you're generally not going more than 50 miles.
I'm just saying, I just thought of
Yeah.
this other option is that
Yeah.
you could always
And
carry.
even if you're going 75 miles one way, you'd be able to make it back, even if you're towing something.
Right.
Normally, towing cuts your range by
Sure.
about half.
Yeah.
Um, so it's great for local towing, local business. So I think that those would be a big hit. And even if they did one with like cloth seats where it wasn't as nice on the inside, I think that would be um, good for both Tesla and the potential owner.
Right. Right. Okay, on the economy as a whole, the big debate right now, although the betting market is not debating it at all, the betting market is now something about almost 90% believing the Fed will cut next Thursday, a week from Thursday. What's today? Thursday, next week. So the betting market's got it dialed in. They believe it's going to happen. I've been arguing that the numbers don't support it. Larry, I think it was Larry on Monday night, Larry Goldberg said that he said even if the numbers don't support it, they probably need to do this first 25% just because they said they were going to. And that it probably wouldn't kill us to have, regardless of the impact long term, it probably wouldn't be that big of an impact right now. So have you thought about this at all? What do you think is going to happen next Thursday? Because the world seems to be all what's the word? A flutter about what the
So the market's at basically 90% of a 25 basis point cut.
right.
Yeah, so what they shared with us before was that they were going to do about a full percentage point this year.
Right.
So is there another meeting in December?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense that you get two 25 basis point cuts to end the year so that they cut up 1% up from the top. They change their mind every meeting. The dot plot changes every meeting. But I think they want to they probably want to stay on a schedule at least for the first few cuts before they start making adjustments.
Okay. All right. Even though inflation does not seem to necessarily be the core PCE today was a tenth of a point higher than anticipated. The job numbers so far have been coming in hotter than expected. The economy came in at 2.8% in terms of the GDP improvement over last year. I mean, all these numbers are suggesting the economy is doing just fine at these interest rate levels.
Yeah,
And
I've been wrong. I've been wrong. Don't worry about
yeah, either that or the numbers are wrong, and we'll find out in a week or so that the numbers have been ginned this entire time. That is also not that would not be crazy after what they did with those savings rate numbers, jumping them up from whatever it was, 2.9 to 4.9 or something. I mean, that's ridiculous.
it.
But anyway, assuming that the numbers have any validity at all, the recession that I've said we've been in since June apparently didn't happen. Apparently. So anyway, you think that it's okay, or you think if you were Chairman Powell, you would go ahead with the 25-25, even if these numbers are all as strong as they
Yeah.
seem. All right. Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they did 50 and then took a break
Wow.
in December.
Wow.
Just like a one meeting break.
Okay.
So I think they could go either way just as long as they communicate it well.
All right. Okay. Well,
A lot of their job is communicating those expectations.
of course. So we've had the Magnificent Seven. You probably have headlines right now that you could go to too. I was going to check this while we were on air. Apple, let's see, after hours, down 3.71. That tells me that Apple must have done something wrong in their report.
Mm.
Let's see. Where's CNBC here? What's the headline? Apple sales climbed 6%. They pay a $10 billion European tax charge. Whoa. But but they're down. It says their shares pop on earnings beat, but that's not what I just saw when I looked it up. And then Amazon's advertising business grew 19% in the third quarter. Overall, the earnings season for the Magnificent Seven has been a little bit disappointing. Or what do you see?
Google had strong earnings. I think Meta was a little weak, and then they said, "Oh, we're going to spend more money on AI." So it's a bit of a broken record. So I think that was a little disappointing. NVIDIA we have coming up
2 weeks.
around the 28th or something of November.
I thought I heard anyway. Yeah, I
Or
don't.
maybe it's the 20th, somewhere around the 20th. So we're waiting on NVIDIA. But yeah, the Magnificent Six was a little disappointing absent Google. I'm guessing NVIDIA won't be. You have XAI coming out saying they're going to buy another 100,000 and get those in, and probably in Tennessee, where they have
Yeah.
the 100,000 that they put up in Memphis. And you're hearing about other orders. So I think Microsoft orders are strong. So I don't think NVIDIA would necessarily be a disappointment. So that's where I'm at with those.
Okay. All right. Outside the economy, you reposted an article today regarding the New York Times hit piece on 20 mainstream, well, you said they weren't Republican, 20 conservative voices.
Yeah.
So the New York Times, what's the New York Times trying to do here 5 days before the election?
So they want to get YouTube to censor them, and they use the discredited Media Matters to do that. So it strikes me as a fascist move. So what fascists do is censor their opponents. They throw them in jail. And
Sometimes.
we've seen a chunk of that happening. So it's disappointing to see that going on. And it seems like every election that whoever's on the right, they're called a fascist when they're not necessarily doing fascist moves.
And yet this would be looked at. So I mean, we're talking about Senator Cruz, who was one of the people on the list that
Wow.
yeah, no, this is not
Wow.
this,
That would be mainstream.
that
Yeah.
would be mainstream. We're talking
Yeah.
about Daily Wire. I mean, we're talking about people that are absolutely respected by the vast majority of people in the conservative movement. So we're not talking about, the crazies.
Yeah.
So this was, I would say,
Yeah. So this is something that Trump did not do. So he didn't censor his opponents. He
Never
didn't
ask those
throw
questions. Yeah.
he didn't throw a dozen of his opponents in jail. Um, even despite, allowing the crowd to, say lock her up in regards to Hillary. He never pursued anything against her. So like, yeah, it just seems that fascism is coming from one direction.
All right. Well, so
But I do want to say something else. This
yeah,
may
go
be
ahead.
a bit controversial.
Sure.
Um, and I'm going to pat myself on the back. So on your show last week, I said that I thought Tesla would have a follow through rally on Friday and culminate Monday morning. And that's exactly what we got.
That's
So
right.
when you have these surprises, not everybody's on board to react to it that next day.
Sure.
People hope to buy the dip on Friday, and then when it doesn't dip, they buy.
Right.
And then there's people who wait and think about it over the weekend, and then they FOMO buy the following Monday. That's a pattern we see a lot.
Mhm.
It's not always going to hold,
Sure. Sure.
but we see that a lot. Now, I think that doesn't relate to what I'm about to say, but I
Okay.
did want to
Well,
pat myself on the back.
all right. So before you finish, then, would you also think that the macro on Tuesday and Wednesday, and even today, that the macro also was a piece of why it's dropped off 20 points from the recent high?
The macro move from
From
the
the
Monday high.
overall market, the overall
Well,
market.
I just thought we were going to hit a temporary sentimental high Monday morning, but what I'm about to say may
Go
add
ahead.
some fuel to Tesla stock. Um, so from what we're seeing from polling and early voting, we may see an electoral college landslide by Trump.
Right.
And I think this would tend to favor Tesla stock because Elon is thrown in with Trump, and it's believed that Trump may be a little better for Tesla just because Harris and Biden administration has been slowing down Elon Musk with many things.
Right.
And I did a video that we released on Tuesday with Tesla Boomer Mama about the whole lawfare situation where they've been singling out Elon Musk and slowing him down.
Right.
So I think we may see a landslide and or a Trump win. And the other thing that has me saying that is there's the early voting. So, Republicans are voting much more strong in early voting, but that may mean Republicans may disappoint on actual election day. So that's a risk.
Yes.
But the other thing we're seeing is the national polling, people are saying that Trump might even win the popular vote. And it feels like it's been a long time since a Republican has won the popular vote.
It has been.
Yeah.
A very long
I don't know the exact number, but it feels like it's been a long time since then. So that has me thinking that that this may be the result. I do think potentially that the stock could go down if Harris wins, just because people would think it would be bad for Tesla. So those are some overly specific predictions for next week.
There you go.
This is not trading advice.
Right.
For entertainment purposes only. In my opinion, do
I'm
your own
absolutely
research.
entertained. I'm so entertained. Well, I certainly also agree with you. I do think that a Trump win would be good for Tesla. A lot of folks, though, have been,
But I don't think that'll be the end to drama in the media about politics or about the election.
It'll be
So
less. It'll be less.
whoever wins, whoever favors that side is going to say it was a fair election, and whoever loses is going to say, it was a fraudulent election. So, all right, go ahead, Randy. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, a lot of people are angry, especially Alex, who's not even a citizen, are angry at Elon for his activities in favor of Trump, believing that it's hurting the brand and hurting sales. And I did run
So you're talking about Alex from Germany?
yeah, exactly that one.
Okay.
And but there's other people. There's a lot of people. Some people have even have left the Elon Musk sphere and
Yeah.
no longer follow him as a result of this. Now, some of those may be people that are on the left side of the curve. Um,
We so on that point, we do help out people who are more diversified. So, people who aren't all in Tesla. We you know we own Tesla for a lot of clients, even for those who are diversified, but some of them, despite what we may say otherwise, they order us to sell all of it.
right.
And it's almost like a tobacco stock for people because of people get upset about
Sure.
the whole political thing.
Sure. Yeah, I did a poll. It's not scientific. I think I had an entire 120 people answer the poll, but I did a poll on X, and it turned out I think it was a massive swing in terms of how people might be influenced, by the CEO or not influenced by the CEO. Most people could care less. They're going to buy the stock, you know, based on the quality of the stock, or buy the car based on the quality of the car,
Mm.
not having anything to do with the CEO at all. My personal thought though was I don't think I can imagine how you would get more publicity for the brand than Elon Musk has gotten for the Tesla brand over the last 6 weeks. He's on stages all over the country. He's on the front page of the newspapers every day with the Tesla t-shirt on
Mm.
and talking about various of his enterprises in addition to the actual race. So it's hard. He already is most people consider him and Trump at this point to be the two best known personalities in the world. And some people are saying that Trump is a better known personality that Musk is a better known personality than Trump. So I think that's good for Tesla. It may mean that there's a fringe that are knocked out because of it. But
Mm.
it also means there's a lot more people that are now aware and that are potential either customers or stockholders.
Yeah, I think potentially this could be a good thing. Though, what we didn't see as a result of the rallies, and maybe we don't know, is I'm not sure those folks have been that were at the rallies and got to really see how he thinks, hear how he answers questions and kind of understand that he's different and maybe I should look into this. We haven't yet seen I feel like we haven't yet seen people buying the stock because of that.
Right.
But I think perhaps seeds have been planted where they'll consider Elon and Tesla as time goes on. It
Right.
took me a while in 2019 to understand what was going on. So it was the Joe Rogan podcast that really turned me around.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. All right. You again mentioned earlier, and you about Lemonade. I first noticed Lemonade when they were a very small, I think, basically a startup, but they got a lot of publicity early on for what they were doing. Very charismatic founder who got a lot of press. And quite frankly, I thought it was a really, really, really good idea. And then I just lost. I just had too many other things on my plate. I guess I've kind of seen their brand going across, the ticker tape and whatnot over time. But you follow them obviously very closely. You're a big fan. You said today they came out with earnings and apparently they did okay.
Yeah, they had positive cash flow, which is new for them. Um, and their earnings are continuing to improve. And they had a really positive guidance in their earnings. And their stock was up 27% today.
Whoa.
Yeah. So what's a bit wild about Lemonade is it's different, but they're in a similar spot that Tesla was in 2019, where they're heavily shorted, 33% shorted,
Oh,
which is massive. To unwind that, I think might get ugly for the shorts.
yes.
The other thing is in 2019, Tesla was not yet profitable.
Mhm.
Lemonade guided to being adjusted earnings positive in 2026, and they're already cash flow positive, so they're not dependent on capital markets to raise cash.
Mhm.
So a little bit about Lemonade is that they're essentially an insurance app that is built using AI for 7 years. So they didn't just start AI when it was cool
Yeah.
a year and a half ago. They've been doing it for 7 years, and they've automated their business so that it's tech heavy from the start. So there's some charts that have gone out where essentially their revenues and their number of customers have grown like this, but their operating expenses have been flat.
Sounds familiar.
And what that means is you have leverage.
Yeah.
So like Tesla had their R&D in their headquarters, and they had a profitable factory in Fremont in 2019, but they still weren't profitable until they started the Shanghai plant.
Right.
And I think Lemonade's in a similar situation. It won't happen as fast. Um, but they're about to enter car insurance in a bigger way.
That was my question because the little bit I have paid attention to, they were in these rather esoteric insurance businesses like
Yeah.
pet insurance
And
and
then renters,
and
yeah.
renters insurance. Yeah. And that they had had some difficulty, I think, entering into some of the more traditional insurance categories, as Tesla has found out how hard it is to do on a state by state basis. But so you're thinking that they're be able to move into some of these bigger TAMs and start making a difference.
Yeah, they haven't bothered to try and sell their existing clients into car insurance.
See.
So they're getting ready to do that starting potentially next year. They
Mhm.
just want to go about it the right way so they don't turn people off.
Sure.
So there's this low-hanging fruit for them where they won't have to spend money on ads. Maybe they spend some money on mailers
Right.
to get in front of people if they don't open their app or whatever. But um, they're going to be able to get in front of car insurance customers inexpensively. Um, it's been a really difficult environment for many insurers in both home and auto.
Right.
The cost to refurbish a home, renovate or whatever, remediate,
Yes. Oh no.
it's just gone way up. Like
Boy.
it feels like it's doubled in 4 years. And car insurance has gotten way worse. So it's not just Tesla where the repairs are slow. It's everybody. And I think that's been part of the difficult environment.
Yeah.
And a lot of state regulators have been slow to allow insurance companies to raise their rates.
Yes.
Um, so in the right states, Lemonade's going to likely target folks to upsell them into car insurance and offer a bundling discount either with their pet or renters. Um, that would be appealing to them.
Right. All right. Well, very interesting. I've been, like I say, I've had an interest in the company for a long time. A, I think the founder is really smart. Sounds like very hardworking. And so that's the little bit I know is reflected in what you're saying about them. I'm not, it's not investment advice by either one of us.
Yeah.
It is something that is apparently done extremely well this quarter, for sure.
And the other thing I'll say is Wall Street is sleeping on them. So their price targets generally range from $11 to like $18. And today is trading at $24 for most of the day and close around that level.
Yeah.
And there's only one of the 10 analysts has them as a buy and four
Wow.
have as a sell.
Oh, wow.
So people are thinking that Lemonade might have needed to raise cash or that they're somehow going to go bankrupt. And um, like Tesla in 2019, I disagree with Wall Street. I think Lemonade's going to become profitable and it's going to be a question of when, in my opinion.
Wow, extremely interesting. Well, okay, I think we've covered a wide variety of subjects today. Any last things before I cut you loose and do the numbers for everybody out there?
No, let's get right to the numbers.
All right. Well, thanks as always for coming on and helping us take a look. And we'll see you next Thursday. Well, let's check out those numbers. Let's start with the Tesla today. It was down $7.70 to 249.85. So we're now about 8% off of where we were at the top at 270. And we've got the Dow Jones down 378. We've got NASDAQ down 512, the S&P down 108, and basically all of the Magnificent Seven were down substantially, including Meta and Microsoft at 24 and 26 points. And Apple was down. Amazon, before their numbers came in, before their earnings reports, we had the Cathie Woods were mixed. Let's go ahead and look at that in terms of percentages. We have the Dow down 0.9. We have NASDAQ down 2.76. We had the S&P down 1.86 and Tesla down 2.99, which actually means that they outperformed the rest of the market today. In the after hours, we have Tesla 0.36 up. We have Apple 1.47 down, so that's an addition. So the market has decided that they were at least a little bit unhappy with what they provided. We have Google even in the after hours. We have Amazon, who reported today, also actually up 5.84. So some happiness, 5.84, a good deal for Amazon today. And did Google, let's see, I'm sorry, did Meta down just a tad, and NVIDIA, having been down 4.72 in the after hours, has picked back 1.13 of that. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the bonds and where things look like they might be headed tomorrow. The bonds, not much change in the after hours on the 10-year. We're looking at 4.285. That is still very high, still consistent with the idea that the bond market believes either that the economy is too strong, or that inflation is not under control. So that is still showing some weakness there, because that would mean that the bond prices, what you pay for the bonds, is dropping. We have the 3-month, I'm sorry, let's go to the 2-year first, is up 0.8%. In the pre-market, the 3-month is down 0.5% and the 2-month up 1.6. Okay, now that is a wild variation. I've never seen it be that cattywampus between even the 3-month and the 2-month. That is strange enough. Okay. One day it does not a trend make. Now we got oil continuing up $1.36 in the pre-market. So we're now back over $70 again at $70.62, saying that demand is stronger than expected. And the delay to OPEC and also supply not being as much as expected. Natural gas up a tad after going way up and then coming back down from that, but it's still very high at $2.70. We have gold beginning to move back up again, but still at 2,756, which is way off of the 2,800 it was a couple of days ago. Silver also bouncing back up a little bit at $32.82, but it was over 34. Copper is now at $4.36, up 0.59 in the pre-market. Dollar is down a bit against the yen, 0.1%, and almost unchanged against the euro. The Bitcoin for the day is down 13.79. So after crossing over 70 and being within a fraction of all-time highs, it's now back down to 70,535. And here we go for the equities coming up in the morning, kind of an indicator of where we might be going tomorrow. We've got the Dow up 10 or 0.02. S&P barely changed, up 6.25 or 0.11%. And the NASDAQ up 63, up 0.32%. All right, well, that is all we've got for you tonight. Come on in the morning for the regular set. We've got we begin with after the bell, then later in the morning. Tomorrow is Friday. Yeah, Friday. Brian Wong is going to be coming back with us tomorrow morning. And then Larry Goldberg for the afternoon. It is unclear. Last time that we had the employment numbers on a Friday. I'm sorry, they're always on. Wait, they're always on a Friday. Always the first Friday of the month. The last time that the first Friday of the month fell on the first day of the month, Cathie Wood did not report on that day. We'll see whether she does or not tomorrow night, and that'll determine what happens on Saturday morning, whether Larry and I discuss Cathie Wood on Saturday morning. Otherwise, if not, I promise you, we will have phenomenally interesting content all weekend long. That's all I got for you right now. It has been great talking to you.